Chris and Chris discuss the Golden Knights season that could have been on the Chris and Chris edition of Locked On Vegas Golden Knights.
You're Locked On Golden Knights, your daily podcast on the Vegas Golden Knights, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Good morning. This is officially the first Chris and Chris edition of Locked On Vegas Golden Knights since the Golden Knights season came to a screeching halt this past Sunday, Game 7 against the Dallas Stars. So we're going to dive right into a few different topics today. We're going to talk about the season that could have been. How much damage could the Golden Knights have done if they would have advanced out of that first round? Of course, next we're going to talk about Jonathan Marchessault and will he return or will he not return? Will the best teammates on the planet for the Golden Knights come back? We'll find out maybe later. And then also we're going to talk about the NHL Stanley Cup Playoffs, remaining teams and series in progress. All right, Chris, here's my question for you, buddy. You're going to start us off today. The Golden Knights, we heard a lot after the season ended. You heard of chemistry issues and stuff like that. Fine, whatever. But my question is, Chris, Kelly McCrimmon made a comment, the Golden Knights general manager, that this is the best team the Golden Knights have ever had. That's even a better team than last year's team that won the Stanley Cup championship, Chris. So my question, Chris, little man, is if the Golden Knights could have advanced past the Dallas Stars, how good do you think they could have done?
I really don't. If they would have somehow got past the Stars in round one, I really don't think they get past round two. And I just think Colorado is too powerful for Bruce Cassidy. Of course, you know that they've been waiting a long time and came back from, what was it, like a 3-0 lead against Dallas? And they've been just sitting there waiting. And I told you, whoever won Game 7 would lose Game 1. I said they get crushed, but
they get crushed.
But yeah.
We're on the same boat, Chris. So listen, buddy, I said that whoever wins the Dallas VGK series, they would be spotting one game to the Colorado Avalanche. At some point, the fatigue would definitely set in. I don't know if it was going to be Game 1 right away necessarily, but I would argue that in even Games 1 and Game 2 for the Dallas Stars, fatigue was there, right? The Dallas Stars had a 4-0 lead in game number 2. I'm pretty sure I'm on the ball about this here. Let me double check this. Yeah, so the Dallas Stars had a 4-0 lead. It might have been 4-1. Point being is that game got to 4-3, and then, of course, the Stars got an empty netter, so they obviously wound up earning the split in the 2 home games to start the series. So Colorado's a great team. Let's not kid ourselves here, but Colorado also has a lot of concerns, Chris, as far as defense and goaltending goes. I'd argue that Adin Hill was hopefully getting better. I mean, Adin Hill played Game 5. He was fine in Game 5, got the shutout in Game 6, and Game 7, both goals that were scored. I mean, one is a giveaway that goes right to Wyatt Johnston coming down the slot. What are you going to do about that? And then the second and eventual game-winning goal was just unfortunate. It was a bounce off Alec Martinez right off his skates that winds up going top shelf on the backhand. Nothing Adin Hill could have done, but I really felt that we were starting to see last year's stick save version. Chris, there you go. You love talking about that. I really think we were starting to see last year's stick save version of Adin Hill, who was going to get a lot better as the playoffs went on. So for me, I mean, I really think that Dallas and Vegas were going to be the best 2 teams in the Western Conference. So that's no disrespect to Edmonton and Vancouver. They both have their issues, and we'll talk about that in the third segment when we talk about the remaining teams in the playoff hunt right now. But I just think the Golden Knights and the Dallas Stars in the first round, they were the best defensive teams, right, Chris? I mean, some of those games were kind of boring. They were exciting because it was our team, but it was kind of boring in the sense that not a lot of scoring, Not a lot of high scoring, not even a lot of fighting and animosity. Like, Chris, did you think there was a lot of like rough stuff in that first round? There's some
No,
good hits, but not a lot.
listen. Besides all the booing to Mark Stone, both crowds weren't the loudest playoff crowds I've heard both teams in.
Okay, so now Chris is throwing shade at the crowds. I don't know, man. What game was it that we were at? It was kind of weird.
Game 3.
Game 3. I'll give you, Chris. The game 3 crowd was strange. It was, I don't know what was going on in game 3, but what I will say is that flurry of events when Logan Thompson made that save, and then it was Jack Eichel, I believe, that came down and got the game tying goal. That's the most electric moment outside of the Stanley Cup being awarded. That right there for me was the most electric moment I've ever witnessed in that building. It just turned the crowd around on a dime. But I'm with you. The first like 40, 45 minutes of that game, the crowd was a bit strange. Dallas Stars, I don't know, man. That goal song, dude, when they start singing the band is Pantera, when that music starts playing, I find that intimidating. I think that's the coolest goal song and goal celebration in the NHL. It's up there with your Rangers. Rangers got a really good goal song, and a lot of other teams do as well. But, really for me, just thinking out loud, Dallas Stars, New York Rangers, and maybe LA Kings might be my favorite 3 goal songs. And I'm not just saying the song itself, but from the crowd interaction. And then, of course, an honorable mention to us, the Seattle Kraken using Nirvana as a goal song celebration. I think it's Lithium. I don't know what song, but whatever. It's pretty awesome. So you don't think the Golden Knights could have made it past Colorado? Colorado's not been playing good defense. Georgiev, their goaltender, a lot of questions. You think Colorado still would have won that series against the Vegas Golden Knights?
Georgiev was starting in round 2.
Yeah. You want to change your perspective, Chris? I mean, Georgiev is the man.
Maybe that would have also been a Game 7 series.
Well, in Game 7 would have been in Colorado, and we heard Captain Mark Stone mention that the team needs to get themselves in a better spot, so they're not in the 8th place in the Western Conference. Chris, something me and Tony talked about this season, and this definitely fits into this first segment. The Golden Knights, I believe, went 1-2 against the Anaheim Ducks. They left points on the table. Coyotes as well, and I'm not knocking the teams, just the reality. The reality is these are 2 teams that were lower in the standings. And then you had that game against the Columbus Blue Jackets where the Golden Knights lost like 6-2 or 6-3, whatever that score was.
7-3, I think.
Okay, it was a terrible game. We agree on that. The point being is that's like 7 or 8 points right there. That really was about the difference. I think there was an 8-point difference. I could be wrong, but it was pretty close between the Edmonton Oilers and the Vegas Golden Knights. So the Golden Knights had a path, even with all the injuries and drama, to be second place in the Pacific Division, and they just didn't get there. So I think that also fits into the situation the Golden Knights were in. Obviously, the Golden Knights might have had better luck against the Oilers in the first round. We'll never know. We'll never know what this season could have been for the Golden Knights because, well, they're out. Dallas Stars won. Dallas Stars were the better team. Full credit to them. And, it's sad compared to last season, Chris, but I truthfully think the Golden Knights could have possibly, I think if the Golden Knights would have got out of that first round, I think the chances were more likely than less likely for them to advance to the Stanley Cup final. The team would get healthier. We heard about all the chemistry nonsense. The team would have been better, at playing better team hockey. They get healthier as stuff gets deeper. Aiden Hill gets better, but unfortunately, Chris, the reality is the Golden Knights will not be repeating as Stanley Cup champions. So, yes or no, Chris? Could the Golden Knights have won the Stanley Cup if they would have advanced out of the first round against the Dallas Stars? Yes or no? Nothing in between.
No, I don't think they get past Colorado. I think that now that I hear that Georgiev is starting, that series would probably go on to 7-7. I still think Colorado can win game 1, no matter if it's both teams, and the Golden Knights would get knocked out in the second round for the first time ever.
I hear what you're saying, Chris. I'm going to disagree with you, but I do understand what you're saying. Colorado's got a lot of talent. They got so much talent, but their defense and goaltending does have some concerns. After Cale Makar, you got some good players, but core to core, defense to defense, I'll take a healthy version of the Golden Knights defense, not only against the Avalanche, but really against any other defensive core in the NHL. So, all right, that's going to put a bow on segment number 1. We're going to roll right to the hottest topic of the offseason, Chris. Will, look at me. Will Jonathan Marchessault be a Vegas Golden Knight after July the 1st? July the 1st is when the free agency period opens. Will Jonathan Marchessault be a Vegas Golden Knight on July 2nd? There you go.
Does Vegas have to sign it, or can he sign?
So the way it works, Chris, is as of July 1st, Jonathan Marchessault will not have a contract with the Vegas Golden Knights. So right now, between now and July the 1st, Jonathan Marchessault and the Vegas Golden Knights will have conversations. Jonathan Marchessault and his agent, Pat Brisson, are going to say, this is the contract that we want. Kelly McCrimmon is going to approach them and say, this is the contract we're willing to offer you. And then the two sides are going to have a negotiation and possibly meet somewhere in the middle. But if they cannot come to a deal by July, but technically by June the 30th, by June the 3rd, however many days, if they cannot come to an agreement by the last day of June, then on July 1st, Jonathan Marchessault now has the choice to sign with any of the National Hockey League teams, which includes the Golden Knights. You have to assume there's going to be a lot of people that would love to have Jonathan Marchessault on their team. So that's how that works. So I'll ask you again now, Chris. On July the 2nd, will Jonathan Marchessault be a Vegas Golden Knight?
I still don't know. I don't think so. I think it's going to go to a free agent. Now, I'm not sure if he's going to sign with Vegas during the free agency or not.
That's good.
But the question is, if he doesn't sign, what team will he sign with?
There's going to be a lot of teams. I mean, Montreal is, I think, near his home, so that would be a possibility. And Chris, it could be any team that is looking to make a run for a Stanley Cup that feels they're missing a 40-goal scorer. I don't know if Marchessault is a 40-goal scorer next year or at any point in his remaining career to be safe. He's never scored 40 goals before, and we've seen Vegas Golden Knight players, Tony Cordasco, get rewarded after career seasons. Definitely, of course, happened with Aiden Hill. What was $4.9 million too much? We'll find out next season. And, of course, Tony will tell you all about William Karlsson and the big contract he got in season 3 with the Golden Knights, 1 season removed from that big 43-goal, however many goals he had in season number 1. So,
how long does that contract remain? How many years is that contract?
Good question. I have the answer right here, little man. William Karlsson will be under contract with the Golden Knights until the end of the 26-27 season. So looks like 3 more seasons? 3 more seasons of William Karlsson. So Tony's going to
Tony will be free.
Yes, I don't know. William Karlsson, I think, is a life for VGK, but I said the same about Jonathan Marchessault, so we'll see about that. So your question, Chris, this is a really good question. I mean, you could argue a lot of teams. How about the Coyotes? How about the Utah Hockey Club, which will have a new name sometime in the next month or so, possibly.
Wait, they're called a hockey club?
Right now, we're just referring to them as the Utah Hockey Club, but that could be what their team name is. So they're doing a bracket, Chris. They're doing a bracket for people in Utah who are going to decide the team name. There's a team just like the playoffs. There's two names on top of each other. People vote, and then it advances. So we'll talk about that on the side, but that's pretty cool what they're doing up there in Utah.
I vote the Fury.
Fury's kind of cool. Yeti is interesting. I don't know. Whatever. I'm just excited that they'll be going to a market in a bigger stadium, and hopefully this bodes well for Arizona down the road to retain the Coyotes and get their situation in order. But we'll see. I don't think that's going to happen. But that's just me. Other teams that could sign Marchessault. I mean, Montreal, Utah's got the money. A team like Tampa, possibly. He would go back to Tampa, right? I believe Marchessault started his career with Tampa, if I'm not mistaken. You could see that, especially if Tampa does not extend Steven Stamkos. And there's a lot of other creative ways that Jonathan Marchessault could get signed by another team.
Did we get Marchessault from Tampa?
Florida Panthers is part of the expansion draft, along with Riley Smith, because the Florida Panthers didn't want to give up some player or prospect who's not even playing in the NHL. So I don't know if that was Dale Talon, the GM at the time, but someone really screwed up in Florida to allow the Golden Knights to get Smith and Marchessault as part of the expansion deal. They literally threw the said, please take Riley Smith and Jonathan Marchessault instead of taking whoever this player is who is no longer even in the NHL. So, all right, Chris, so let's talk about some money for a second here. Right now, I'm on Cap Friendly, just kind of putting a team together. With all of the unrestricted free agents and restricted free agents, with all of their money not necessarily factoring in to next year's team, the Golden Knights have about $6 million to work with. That number could be plus or minus, but that's the ballpark. They got about $6 million to work with. Now, that $6 million factors Marchessault, Anthony Mantha, Chandler Stevenson, William Carrier, Pavel Dorofeev, Mike Amadio, and Yuri Patera, all not counting against that money I just told you. So $6 million for all of those players. Now let's talk about the free agents, and we'll talk about Marchessault last. Anthony Mantha, I don't see him returning to the Vegas Golden Knights. Let's make that easy.
What?
Chandler, his contract is up. He's going to want a lot more money. He didn't do well. He got scratched the last 4 games of the series with the Golden Knights. Mantha, with all due respect, is probably not returning. Chandler Stevenson has been in a very weird spot. When he's a center, he's fine. When he's a winger, he's not fine. Tomas Hertl was brought in for a much bigger contract, who's going to be a Golden Knight through like 29-30 or something like that. Stevenson is going to command a lot of money, and I don't see him returning to the Golden Knights. William Carrier, a lot of injuries and stuff, but he's probably going to try and get higher than $1.4 million. I don't see that working out. Pavel Dorofeev will get an extension in the $1 million range. He's a restricted free agent. We'll just leave it at that for conversation's sake. Michael Amadio, this is interesting. Mike Amadio, Chris, only made the league minimum $762,000 last season. Mike Amadio's contract is up. He's a good winger. He can play center. He can play in the top 6 if he needs to, but he's a very good third and fourth line player. Will a team offer him $2 million? I don't know if it'll be the Golden Knights. I hope Amadio can stay in Vegas. Alec Martinez, I don't see him coming back to Vegas either via retirement or free agency unless he's willing to come play for not a lot of money. So why I'm giving you all these numbers here, Chris, the Golden Knights, if they're going to bring Marchessault back, another move probably has to happen. Someone like Shea Theodore, who makes nearly $6 million. Shea Theodore, pardon me, while I look for his contract. 5.2, pardon me. What are you looking at? You okay back there?
Yeah.
All right. Shea Theodore, $5.2 million. That would be a move that probably needs to happen because Jonathan Marchessault is probably going to command $7 million or more. So I guess my question I'll ask you, Chris, are the Golden Knights better with Jonathan Marchessault and Michael Amadio?
Marchessault.
But no Shea Theodore?
Yeah, probably Marchessault still.
Okay, so maybe the conversation is simple. Jonathan Marchessault or Shea Theodore? Which player would you rather have on the Golden Knights?
Marchessault.
Why?
Cause Theo had all those turnovers, which is probably part of the reason why Dallas won that series. To think about it.
Shea Theodore, we've seen a very good version of him, like in regular seasons and last year's Stanley Cup playoff, and then we've seen this year's version of Shea Theodore, which was not as good. So, I mean, if the decision, Chris, is Shea Theodore or Jonathan Marchessault, I'll take Marchessault, but really don't want it to be like an $8 or $9 million AAV. That would be the per year money that the Golden Knights would be responsible. That would count against the salary cap. Complicated ways to explain it, but that's a short version right there. So if the Golden Knights do find a way, what would be nice, Chris, is if the Golden Knights did trade Shea Theodore, extend Jonathan Marchessault, There's money left for Mike Amadio. There's money left for Pavel Dorofeev. There's money left to maybe do something else with the William Carrier, possibly a minimum contract for Alec Martinez, or there's still some money left for some free agents. And then you obviously have players like Caden Korczak, Lucas Cormier, Jake Bischoff, who could all compete for a spot with the Golden Knights. You have players like Brendan Brisson, who might be ready to step up as well. So a lot of storylines heading into the offseason. So Chris and Chris, we agree Jonathan Marchessault will be a Golden Knights next season.
Yeah, probably.
I'll give you a yeah. I will give you a yeah, probably as well. That's a perfect response. All right. Last segment of the show, we're going to talk about the Stanley Cup playoffs and the remaining teams. We're going to hit each of the 4 remaining series relatively quickly. We'll focus a little harder on the West, and we'll go from there. So the Western Conference, Chris, we have a couple of 1-1 series right now. Dallas and Colorado 1-1. Vancouver and Edmonton 1-1. Let's start with Vancouver and Edmonton. That was the game that you and I watched most of last night until overtime came. How do you see that series playing out, Chris? Last night's game ended on a bad goal for the Oilers. Defenseman for the Vancouver Canucks inadvertently tips the puck into his own nets. Edmonton gets a win. They never led, I don't think, in that entire game until the game-winning goal. So 1-1 Vancouver-Edmonton. Who advances out of that series?
I really think Edmonton can do it in 6. I think Edmonton's just the better team, and if Edmonton goes to the Stanley Cup final against the New York Rangers, it'll either be the first team to win a President's Trophy since 1970-something, or the first Canadian team to win the Stanley Cup since
93 for a Canadian team. I feel like it was sometime in the early 2000s for a President's Trophy team to win I think the Blackhawks were a President's Trophy winner, and they won the Stanley Cup in 2012. I could be wrong, but point being, yeah, that the Stanley Cup President's Trophy curse is definitely there. Chris, I'm with you. And Vancouver is live. They got a shot right now. Edmonton winning that game yesterday, I think, really is going to make an uphill battle for the Vancouver Canucks, who are going into hostile territory as the season shifts back to Edmonton. Concerns, Leon Draisaitl and McDavid both look banged up right now. They do both look pretty banged up, and you bet your keister, little man, McDavid is going to have to answer for a couple of hits that he did in the game. That high sticking that was missed against Quinn Hughes, and then there was an interference run on someone else. McDavid's going to be a targeted man in game number 3. They're going to try and really slow him down, and they're going to keep on going after Leon Draisaitl. All right, Chris, the series that Vegas Golden Knight fans are probably, where are you going? What are you doing?
Hey, I can finally wipe out my first.
Oh, he's got his. Okay, so we're talking about Dallas and Colorado, Chris. Oh boy, you're moving stuff around right now. You're taking stuff. Oh, you just took off the first round. There you go. So that's his bracket right there that we got. That's his bracket. He's taking off the first rounds. All right, there's your final 8 remaining teams, Chris. All right, Dallas, Colorado, 1-1, buddy. What's going to happen in that series? What's going to happen? Go.
I told you, Colorado's ending up is going to win that series in 6.
Don't cover your mouth because it's hard to hear when you do that, buddy. There you go. So you're going to take Colorado in 6. I think Colorado has the momentum right now. I think Colorado winning game 1 and having that comeback in game 2 is going to cast some doubt into Pete DeBoer. DeBoer is really going to have to step up and find a way to, if they get a lead, to hold it or just play a better defensive game from the beginning, possibly. I mean, I don't know. We'll see if DeBoer can spin the dials. Originally, I would have told you Dallas would advance, but based on the trajectory of the series and what's happening now, I'll take Colorado. I'll take Game 7 heartbreak. Colorado Game 7 in Dallas. All right, Florida and Boston, Chris. Boston wins Game 1. Florida wins, I believe, Games 2 and 3 in convincing fashion. What do you see happening with Florida and Boston really, really quickly?
I still think Boston is.
Don't cover your face.
Is gonna want a win against Florida in a playoff series, especially what happened from last year, a 3-1 upset that almost happened again. Was it last Friday?
Yeah, something like that. All right, so you're saying Boston's going to come back and win that series?
Yes.
Okay, that's fair. Listen, I said the only team that would stop the Florida Panthers in the Stanley Cup final would be the Golden Knights. With the Golden Knights being gone, I'm taking Florida. Probably it's going to go 6 games, but give me the Florida Panthers, and then that will set up an Eastern Conference final, most likely against your Rangers, who are up 3-0 over the Carolina Hurricanes. So will the Rangers finish this series tonight in Carolina, or will this go to a game 5, Chris?
I think they finish it tonight. I think New York is just too powerful. I can start teasing Allie that my Hurricanes beat her Rangers in 4 games.
So little Chris is referencing Chris's second favorite team, New York Rangers. My daughter Allie, her second favorite team, the Carolina Hurricanes. Of course, we are a house divided right now in the second round of the Stanley Cup playoffs. So, all right, so putting a bow on this here on the Eastern Conference, I think we're split right now. I'm taking Florida. Chris is taking Boston. We're both taking the Rangers. On the other side, I think we're both on Edmonton to advance past Vancouver. And I think we are split. Are we both taking Colorado, Chris? I forgot. I'm taking Colorado in 7 right now.
Colorado.
And you're taking Colorado as well. So there we go. All right, so that's going to put a bow on the Saturday Chris and Chris edition of Locked On Vegas Golden Knights. Just a reminder, you can check out Locked On Vegas Golden Knights Monday through Friday. That's me and Tony Cordasco. And then Saturday morning is a YouTube exclusive, myself and little Chris talking about everything VGK hockey. I want to thank everyone for checking out today's show. Thank the everydayers who do check us out Monday through Friday, and our super everydayers who check us out for the 6th day of the week. My son already left. He's gone. Oh, he's back. Okay, there we go. Internet issues. That's fine. All right, we're out of here. Thank you guys so much. Have a wonderful Saturday, and please take care.